I really think that it's almost too hard to find what I would call a good Krav Maga center out there. Honestly, I would tell them to find a good jiu-jitsu place.
So what is Krav Maga? What even does that mean? What is my opinion of it? I get asked, what is my opinion of Krav Maga all the time, but I don't know shit about Krav Maga. I guess you're a Krav Maga expert?
I hate that term, but yeah, we'll go with it.
Okay, you know more than me about it. So Ryan Hoover from Fit to Fight is going to explain to me what Krav Maga is and how to sort out whether a Krav Maga dojo school, what are they called?
Well, it's not a martial art, Mike, so you can't call it a dojo.
A Krav Maga place. Here's what is Krav Maga and how to find a good Krav Maga place.
The answer is it depends.
Of course it is. Ding! I think I have to pay you every time we say that. Let me tell you what I think, in my ignorant, uneducated opinion, what I think Krav Maga is.
All right.
And you tell me how wrong I am and what it really is.
Okay.
Okay, so what I think Krav Maga, everyone knows its origin, I guess, or what it's supposed to be, is the Israeli special forces combat system. Military combatives programs tend to be a mixed bag. It just usually tends to be like a small list of high percentage things that you can teach to people quickly that will work on people who are not martial artists. And I've heard this comparison before. I'm not being novel or innovative when I've heard it compared to CrossFit, in that it's become so widely known and saturated, and it's so contingent on the coaching, the quality of the instruction, and the quality of the facility, that it can mean so many things. And the problem that I have with Krav Maga is when you ask people about it, they say, well, if you're at a good Krav school, whereas, for instance, we said recently on the channel that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu has extremely high quality control because you compete at it and you compete in class. You go hard at each other in class. So there's no way you can fake your way to the top of Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah.
Whereas street style self-defense systems or Krav Maga, it's not competition based, so it's hard to measure efficacy.
Yep.
Do I have it close?
Yeah, you're pretty close. So if we just take the term itself, it just means close combat. I mean, Krav Maga just translates loosely to close combat. So the truth is that could be pretty much fucking anything, right? I mean, and the reality is in Israel, if you went through Israeli Defense Forces hand-to-hand training, you're going to get whatever the current instructor's background is. They're going to call it Krav Maga, but if that dude trained in Aikido for 20 years, you're fucking doing Aikido. It's such a generic term in Israel that it's almost, it's like saying somebody does martial arts. It doesn't really hold any kind of value outside of the marketing that has especially been prevalent in the US and Europe. At its core, Krav Maga as was initially founded was a good set of principles and was based on making people physically and emotionally tough. Just making hard people in 6 to 8 weeks.
Right, taking a person from 0 to okay, passable in a short amount of time.
That's right. And it needed to be based on principles, and it needed to be based on making people just aggressive, because you didn't have a lot of time. The truth is, and just like most military systems, I mean, if you're in hand-to-hand, you've made so many damn mistakes that, it's not something that's, especially in most modern first world kind of militaries, it's not something that there's much of a premium on because it just shouldn't happen, So the systems are, like in America, a lot of the systems now are based off of more kind of competitive kind of things to build some sense of court esprit or whatever, and less about, doesn't mean they're not effective, but they're used to almost like a team building kind of thing. Whereas in Israel, it's literally, you might have 15 years in the IDF of a single instructor. This background is karate. And so that's what you're doing, but you're calling it Krav Maga because it's like calling it martial arts.
And he doesn't take his team to a Krav Maga tournament 3 or 4 times a year to get like spanked or to dominate to find out whether or not he's teaching the right shit.
That's right. And I mean, the even worse than that is that, especially in the marketing of Krav Maga in America, is that those things are almost demeaned and bemoaned and like, well, we're not a martial art. It's, you know, this isn't a sport. This isn't whatever, which means that you can just get a really good actor to stand up in front of a group of people and say the right things, do the right things, and fucking rock it. Yeah, man. Absolutely. You YouTube that shit. It's everywhere. Like, one of my biggest problems with Krav Maga as a whole is that these coaches, instructors, whatever you want to call them, are put on this kind of pedestal, and they never have to actually do anything, you know. Whereas, like you said earlier, if it's a jiu-jitsu place, if it's a Muay Thai place, boxing, wrestling, whatever, I mean, you don't have to be the best in the world. You know, some of the greatest coaches on the planet are not the best practitioners, but they've touched hands and gotten after it, you know. So, it's kind of a shame. When I started in Krav Maga, there were some really good, tough guys in the system in the U.S. And like CrossFit, the analogy you made, I think the rapid growth of the system really hurt the quality of what was being put out. You know, at one time they had gotten up to, Krav Maga Worldwide had gotten up to like 250 licensees, which in the adult martial arts world is just fucking unheard of. You know?
I don't know about Krav Maga, but I know you. I've attended your seminars. I've consumed your online content. So I trust that you are one of those good Krav schools. But when I look at your curriculum, it looks a lot like boxing, wrestling, Muay Thai, and then occasionally a training knife and gun in there.
Yep.
Because those techniques and principles are proven. So with all that being said, how can someone find a good Krav school, assuming they can't come train with you?
Honestly, I would tell them to find a good jiu-jitsu place, a good Muay Thai place. If they just absolutely want Krav Maga, I would go watch classes, talk to members, talk to instructors. If there's this air of kind of our stuff is too deadly kind of thing, if they're wearing all this, you know, BDUs and camo and whatever, if they don't spar, if you have nothing to compare it to, if you've never done anything like this before, and you get some guy that's very confident in what he's doing, looks fit, looks athletic, moves well, and
his partner goes flying every time he does anything.
That's right. And that guy tells you, okay, you're gonna hit this pad for 30 seconds as hard as you can, and you're gonna do this thing, and you're gonna jump over and grab this fucking AR-15 and a diving roll, and, you know, like, okay, cool, that sounds like fun.
First of all of that sounds awesome, and I want to do all that.
Look, and that's what I tell people all the time. I'm like, look, if you're doing this for the fun of it, and don't get me wrong, you'll get some benefit from it. You'll probably get in better shape. And if you like it because it's fun, I think that's awesome. If you want to do Tai Chi because you enjoy it, that's fine. But don't try to tell me it's self-defense, you know?
Yeah, my grandmother, before she died, did a lot of Tai Chi. She did Tai Chi all the time, and I could whip her ass easily.
Exactly. I really think that it's almost too hard to find what I would call a good Krav Maga center out there. They do exist, 100%. And if somebody wanted to send me an email and said, hey, I'm in so-and-so, what do you think about this place? I would say, yes, no, I'm not sure. These are the things you could look for, but it's really hard to do. I think the training centers itself should be aesthetically pleasing. It doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be like the Taj Mahal, but it shouldn't look like they don't clean. It shouldn't look like a dungeon. Like, it shouldn't look like skulls and fucking flames and cross, all that kind of stuff. Because again, that tells you a lot about where their mindset, where their mentality, where their culture is. A center that seems welcoming, that seems inviting, even just on the aesthetics. The person that is at the front desk or that answers the phone, are they friendly? Those kinds of things that, honestly, that you would expect in any good customer service driven kind of industry.
And you know what's, it's funny you say that, because some people would be like, because my instructor, he thinks that when he comes here to train me, he thinks my place doesn't smell bad enough. He's like, I don't like being here, because he's a professional fighter. He wants to train in a dungeon that stinks and battle ringworm every other month. You know what I mean? Yeah. And some people would say, oh, it shouldn't matter. Some people would take issue with what you just said. I agree with you, because the same reason the military you have to have your uniform together, the same reason that they would march in formations, that doesn't make you a better soldier, but it's indicative of your attention to detail. And if you can keep your facility clean and running smoothly, from a customer service standpoint, I believe that you would be more likely to pay attention to my needs on the mat. Gun to your head, you've got to give a bullet point list.
Yeah. Guy
looking for a Krav Maga school.
Yeah.
Red flags. 5 red flags.
They don't spar. It comes off as too militaristic. You don't see a lot of women training there. If women aren't training there, there's probably a systemic cultural problem inside of the center. If it's just a bunch of dudes, there's something not right there. The instructors don't look like anybody that you would ever be around. They don't look like people you know. I'm just saying, man. You asked. This is gun to my head.
Like, he's got like no hair and a ponytail and like, you know,